It all kicked off with a crowd buzzing like bees, phones flashing, and cameras rolling. There, in the middle of my driveway, stood Linda, face red as a stop sign, screeching like she'd swallowed a siren. "This is vandalism. You've ruined my car," she bellowed, jabbing a finger at the neon green swirl looping around her sleek BMW. I leaned against my porch, arms crossed, a grin creeping across my face. "It's art," I said coolly. "And, technically, you're parked on some I saw property. Welcome to the show." That's when a news van screeched up. I hadn't planned for it to blow up like this. 2 years ago, I'd moved to this quiet cul-de-sac, chasing peace, good light for my sketches, and space to paint murals without city noise. I wasn't some big-shot artist, but I had a name in local galleries, steady commissions, and folks respected my space. Everyone except Linda. She was the HOA's self-crowned dictator, ruling over a street of retirees and nosy neighbors who clutched her rulebook like it was holy scripture. Linda loved control except when it came to her own habits. From the start, she had it out for me. My lawn was too wild, my porch too bright. She once slipped a typed note under my door, whining that my wind chimes clashed with the HOA's soundscape. But her worst offense? Parking her BMW in my clearly marked, fenced-off driveway like it was her personal garage. The first time, I figured it was a fluke. The second, a mistake. By the third, I knew she was messing with me. "Your driveway's shadier," she'd said, like I was the jerk for caring. That was 6 months back. I tried everything: notes on her windshield, polite chats, even dragging myself to an HOA meeting. But Linda spun every complaint like a pro. "Mark's got an attitude," she'd tell the board, smirking. "His driveway isn't saw that's saw private." They laughed me off, calling me the quirky artist throwing a fit. Then came that rainy Thursday. I just grabbed new paints for a coffee shop mural, buzzing with ideas, only to pull up and see her car squatting in my driveway. Worse, her tires had smeared mud across my canvases by the garage, and a paint box was soaking in a puddle. I stood there, drenched and fuming, staring at her car like it was mocking me. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't yell. I schemed. If reason and the HOA wouldn't work, I'd play Linda's gammy way. By morning, I had my plan: neon spray paints, stencils, and a social media following that loved drama. I waited 3 days for the perfect moment. On a clear Saturday night, Linda parked again, probably sipping wine at a neighbor's bragfest. She wouldn't be back till noon. At 3:14 a.m., I crept out with my gear. I didn't touch her car, no a scratch. I painted a glowing border around it, added arrows and swirling VY nests, and splashed colors like a street mural gone wild, all on some I saw driveway. Under her tires, I stenciled, saw the tyrant's throne saw. It was bold, legal, and beautiful. When Linda strutted out at sunrise, coffee in hand, she stopped dead. Then she screamed. Her meltdown was a masterpiece. Neighbors gawked. Some snapped photos, a few clapped. She called the cops, pacing like a caged tiger. "Arrest him. He vandalized my car," she shrieked. The officer glanced at the paint, then shrugged. "Ma'am, your car's fine, and it's his driveway. It's art, not a crime." Linda went quiet, but I knew that silence was a storm brewing. She slammed her door so hard it shook windows down the street. I thought she might back off, learn her lesson. Nope. This was Linda. Retreat wasn't in her blood. Next morning, an envelope with a fancy HOA seal was taped to my door, like some royal edict. Inside, a violation notice accused me of unauthorized artwork on HOA property. Hilarious, since my driveway wasn't even HOA turf. It claimed my mural was a VY Sewell disturbance that could tank property values, with a due law 500 fine and threats of lawsuits. I didn't fume. I laughed. Linda wasn't just annoying, she was unhinged. But this wasn't about pain anymore. She was trying to bully me into submission, using the HOA as her weapon. Some board members dodged my eyes. A neighbor whispered I should tone it down. Another griped that kids were drawing on sidewalks, inspired by me. The nerve. I hammered the notice onto a post in my yard, right by the driveway, and hung a canvas above it. Saw no censorship saw, painted in Linda's favorite beige. Then I posted the whole saga online, with photos and quotes from her letter. It exploded thousands of shares, a local art magazine calling me a driveway rebel. Influencers jumped in, and soon my driveway was a tourist stop. People snapped selfies by the BMW outline. A couple even asked to propose there. I said go for it. Nothing screams love like neon revenge. Linda spiraled. She staked out her window with binoculars, yelled at a kid for skating by, even tried hosing down the paint. Someone filmed it, captioned it Linda versus art, the washout, and it went VY-RAL on TikTok. Then came a knock. Sarah, the HOA VYC president, slipped inside like a spy, whispering, Linda's out of control. The board's scared, but I've seen the books. Something's off. She handed me a USB with files showing Linda's scams. HOA funds paying her gardener, fake security firms, even her patio upgrades. She wasn't just a pest, she was a thief. I called my cousin's wife, Emily, an HOA dispute lawyer who lived for petty cases. Oh, this is fun, she said, drafting a response to void the fine and demand an audit. We also filed a county complaint for fraud. Linda got the letter while watering her roses. She dropped the hose, jaw slack, and stormed inside. Her porch camera glowed red. She was in full panic mode. That evening, she knocked on my door, smiling like a snake. We've both gone too far, she cooed. Remove the art, and I'll get the fine dropped. Let's move on. I stared her down. You parked in my driveway. I made it art. You made it war. I'm just painting the truth. I shut the door, her heels clicking furiously on my painted swirls as she left. The game wasn't about a driveway Anna Maria, it was about exposing her. The next morning, my driveway became a symbol. A teen asked to add a flower. Her dad gave a thumbs up. Soon, kids and neighbors joined, painting slogans and murals. It was a live art show, and the HOA was powerless. Linda tried VYing her rulebook, but when a news crew showed up, her rant about a VY Sewell infection became a headline. Saw HOA chief wages war on color saw. Then a bombshell. Someone leaked the HOA's full financial records online. Not just Sarah's files, but everything. Emily called it HOA gold. She filed for a county audit and mailed every neighbor a letter exposing Linda's corruption and their rights. By Friday, my yard was a press conference. Neighbors clutched Emily's letter, furious. One guy said Linda fined him for gravel instead of mulch while she built a gazebo with HOA cash. Another said she made his kid cry over a bird feeder. They begged me to lead a meeting to oust her. Linda fought back with a city citation for commercial display, but my online followers rallied. A First Amendment group offered free defense. She wasn't fighting me anymore, she was fighting the internet. A local active VYSD group planned Freedom Fest on my lawn. Food trucks, music, art stalls. 3 HOA board members quit. Sarah took over as interim president, vowing transparency and no more petty fines. Linda stayed inside, blinds shut, her BMW gone. But then, a man in a suit served me papers. Linda's last stand, a lawsuit for defamation, property devaluation, and emotional distress. Emily laughed. This is a tantrum, not a case. We'll crush it. The courtroom was cold, beige, and grim. Linda sat with her stiff lawyer, her usual fire replaced by desperation. Her team called me a rogue artist who humiliated her and wrecked the neighborhood. She dabbed her eyes for show, but the room wasn't buying it. Emily stood, calm as ever, and showed slides. Photos of Linda's car in my driveway, my untouched mural, and the damning financial records. Linda's signature was on checks for her personal perks, disguised as community costs. The courtroom buzzed with anger. Linda snapped, yelling about conspiracies and pointing at Sarah. The judge silenced her, warning she be removed. He ruled her claims baseless, referred her fraud to the DA, and dismissed the case. Outside, reporters swarmed. Linda fled, face hidden. Sarah handed me an envelope. The HOA had removed Linda, refunded my fine, and named my driveway a protected art landmark. Back home, I stared at the swirls and neighbors' additions. It wasn't just paint, it was history. That night, I added in gold, saw entitlement and here saw. A week later, the driveway was a pilgrimage site. A magazine pitched a documentary, calling it the driveway of defiance. During their shoot, Linda's BMW crept by, paused, then vanished. She was a ghost now. Sarah became HOA president, banning silly fines and opening elections. I started a community art program, turning fences and sidewalks into canvases with a city grant. One day, a girl asked why Linda got so mad. Some people think power lets them hurt others, I said. Art reminds them it doesn't. She drew a dinosaur eating ice cream on her driveway better than my work. Honestly, karma caught Linda hard. The DA charged her with embezzlement and fraud. She sold her house and vanished. A young Queen art teacher and a journalist moved in. At a community awards night, I got a plaque for defending sanity with art. Under moonlight, I added one last stroke to the driveway. Saw Creati VY Lives Forever Saw. The canvas was done. So what do you think? Was I a hero for standing up? Or did I go too far with the public shaming? Should art be a weapon against bullies like Linda? Or does it risk escalating personal feuds? And what would you saw have painted on that driveway? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that spark a fight.